All right, so in a few hours from now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting with US President Joe Biden at the White House. The meeting will entail as to how India and the United States can further enhance their bilateral relationship and also jointly improve their strategic global partnership. According to India's Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla, the Afghanistan crisis and also other issues pertaining to the Indo-Pacific as a part of the Quad and the threat of terrorism in the region are some of the key issues that will likely turn up for discussion. The two leaders are also expected to discuss as to how to strengthen defense and security collaboration further, boost strategic clean energy partnership, improve bilateral trade and investment ties, and also explore new avenues in emerging technologies.
At their bilateral meeting on the 24th of September, the Prime Minister and President Biden will review the robust and multifaceted India-US bilateral relationship. They will also discuss how the comprehensive strategic global partnership between our two countries can be enriched further.
Earlier, a senior official of the US government had said that the bilateral will of course give President Biden a chance to review the US strategic partnership with India and also commit to upholding a free and an open Indo-Pacific by working along with India. Now, direct joint efforts to a global solution to COVID-19 pandemic is also something that will come up for discussion, besides the very tricky issue of climate change. Later, the Australian and the Japanese Prime Ministers will also be joining the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the American President Joe Biden for the first ever in-person Quad Summit. And WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibil, who is presently on the ground in the United States at the US Capitol, has sent us this ground report. Take a look.
WION USA Direct from Washington, D.C. with Siddhant Sibil.
Well, the D-Day has finally arrived. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be having a bilateral meeting, in-person bilateral meeting with the US President Joe Biden later today, and this meeting will of course help cement the partnership between the two countries. We know that both leaders have been speaking to each other in the past. There have been 3 phone conversations, and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been part of the virtual summits like the Climate Virtual Summit, the Quad Virtual Summit, and of course the COVID Virtual Summit as well. Now focus will be to keep up the momentum. The visit comes very early on into the Biden administration. That shows that how US is giving priority to New Delhi, and New Delhi is also reciprocating when it comes to the entire engagement. During the meeting there will be discussion on counter-terrorism, Pakistan's support to terrorism, Afghanistan undoubtedly given the security challenge it is for India, and also Indo-Pacific, which is at the end of the day at the heart of this relationship. Both countries keen for more practical initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region, and this coming amidst an increasingly aggressive China. So largely this visit will be about furthering how India and US can take forward this relationship in various diverse sectors, from defense to space to people partnership.
Meanwhile, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the US Vice President Kamala Harris for their very first in-person meeting at the White House. They discussed several global issues of common interest: the COVID-19 pandemic, Afghanistan, and also the Indo-Pacific. The American Vice President in the meeting also referred to Pakistan's role in spreading terrorism in the region. Now, according to the Ministry of External Affairs, Kamala Harris said that there were terror groups that were working in Pakistan and also reportedly asked Islamabad to take action against them. So the matter does not threaten the security of India and the United States.
When the issue of terrorism came up, the Vice President Suomoto referred to Pakistan's role in that regard. She said that there were terror groups that were working there. She asked Pakistan to take action so that these groups do not impact on US security and that of India. She agreed with the Prime Minister's briefing on the fact of cross-border terrorism and the fact that India had been a victim of terrorism for several decades now, and all the need to rein in and closely monitor Pakistan's support for such terrorist groups.
The meeting happened between the Indian Prime Minister and the US Vice President. This was, of course, the first ever meeting, bilaterally in-person meeting between the two leaders. In response to a question, the Foreign Secretary said that suo moto, the US Vice President took the issue of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism, and this comes at a time when just few hours before this important bilateral here in Washington, the Pakistani Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi and the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken had met. This is perhaps those rare occasions when the US administration led by President Biden has been engaging with the Pakistani establishment. We know that there hasn't been any phone conversation from President Biden to Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, and there have been, of course, comments coming from his NSA saying that there should be a conversation. So by and large, it is now known that the duplicity Islamabad has been involved when it comes to the issue of terrorism, top to bottom in the American establishment, and this is something that has been part and parcel. So Pakistan ultimately has to pay for what it has been doing in the region by supporting international terror groups, causing problems not just for India but for many parts of the world, and of course especially for Afghanistan.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also expressed his gratitude to the United States and the Indian diaspora for their help during the second deadly wave of COVID-19 infections.
वो समय था जब भारत कोविड की दूसरी लहर से बहुत ही पीड़ित था, बड़ा संकट था, लेकिन उस समय जिस प्रकार से आत्मीयता से आपने भारत की चिंता की, जो शब्द व्यक्त किए और जो सहायता के लिए हाथ बढ़ाया, इसके लिए मैं फिर एक बार हृदय से आपका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं.
Now, in the joint statement, Prime Minister Modi called on India and the United States as natural allies and also thanked the United States for standing by India like a true friend. The Prime Minister also has invited the Vice President, Kamala Harris, to visit India. Remember, Kamala Harris is in fact the very first US Vice President of Indian origin.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपकी ये विजय यात्रा ऐतिहासिक है. भारत के लोग भी चाहेंगे कि भारत में आपकी इस ऐतिहासिक विजय यात्रा को सम्मानित करें, आपका स्वागत करें. इसलिए मैं आपको विशेष रूप से भारत आने का निमंत्रण देता हूं.
Now, in the joint statement, the Vice President Kamala Harris also reiterated the US's commitment to an open and a free Indo-Pacific and said that India and the United States share the same spirit to combat climate change. The Vice President Kamala Harris also acknowledged that India has the vaccine manufacturing capacity and is known as the vaccine manufacturing hub of the world, and lauded India's resumption of the Vaccine Maitri program.
And as it relates to the Indo-Pacific, the United States, like India, feels very strongly about the pride of being a member of the Indo-Pacific, but also the fragility and the importance and strength as well of those relationships, including maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific.
The New Delhi and Washington have a long-standing relationship, one that has become pretty strong in the last 2 decades. A short while back, after meeting with US Vice President Kamala Harris, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterated that India and the United States happen to be natural allies, and that Washington is, of course, India's true friend in crises. We spoke to Dr. Vaheguru Pal Singh Sidhu, who is a professor at the Center for Global Affairs at the New York University, and this is what he had to say.
President Biden is very, very aware of the role of the Indian diaspora here in every walk of life. And that is obviously exemplified in Vice President Kamala Harris, and that's something that will definitely, come up as well. Last but not the least, I think they're also going to be talking about the diplomatic dimensions of it, particularly in anticipation of Prime Minister Modi's speech to the UN on on Saturday. So I think on all three levels, at the bilateral, the regional, or the plurilateral and the global level, the two countries really have a lot to look forward to in this meeting. A lot is riding on it.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.